Derek Shelton is now the main man in Minnesota. 6 seasons as the Pirates manager, and 2 seasons as the Twins bench coach at the reunion. He worked under Rocco Baldelli, who he's replacing, and the great Paul Molitor. He loved his time in Toronto. 2017, the Jays quality control coach, and prior to that was the Rays hitting coach and the Cleveland hitting coach. Coming out of a difficult situation there with Pittsburgh, briefly moonlighting with us and MLB Network Radio, Derek Shelton grateful for the opportunity.
I don't take this for granted. There's only 30 of these positions, and they're extremely special. There's better things ahead. We're going to build strong relationships, and we're going to have a lot of fun. And I think people are going to be excited about Twins baseball. Excitement about the young group we have. Excitement about the pitching group we have. And I understand, the frustration, but I also embrace the passion that they have. And I think it's one of the main reasons that I wanted to be back here, because I know how passionate Twins territory is. I was able to experience a really great year here. I experienced an okay year here. And then following it closely this year because of my connection to this group and understanding all right, there's some frustration. I think the biggest thing that I would say to them is every night they come out to the ballpark, you're going to see a team that competes, that fights, that is gritty, that's going to run the bases the right way. It's going to do those small little things. Twins fans really appreciate those things. The attention to detail and the fundamentals are extremely important to me. There will be more attention to details, more to fundamentals, and that's not talking about anything that happened before. It's just talking about the lessons I've learned. I think we saw in the World Series this year that 3 little plays in a matter of 3 or 4 inches determined who was going to win a World Series game or who was going to win the World Series. So the focus of that is going to be very important to me, and I think that's something that I've learned over the course of years, that it's really important that there is no detail that's too small.
Derek Shelton did 1 shift with the MLB Network, and now he's manager of the Twins, so I will take full credit for his ascent back to manager again. Shelton's a great guy, clearly a good baseball man, but here's the question. This Twins team right now, as we get into rebuilding, retooling, first things first, Pablo Lopez or Joe Ryan, do either of these guys get dealt?
I don't know. I don't know in the offseason. I think in the offseason, they have, a high asking price on these guys. I don't think they're gonna not, not pick up the phone if somebody calls about either one of these guys. But I'm sure the asking price will be pretty high. Go into the season with them, see kind of how it unfolds, and maybe at the deadline, when a team is really, really in need of getting that starting pitching for the rest of the year, you maybe pull the trigger on that, but I don't think they're not that far off. I mean, when you're looking at the roster, you're looking at all the guys that they got and all the 10 guys that they traded at the deadline last year, as far as the prospects they got back. And
these are the guys traded. Bader, Correa, Paddock, Louis Varland.
They traded a lot of talent, and they got a lot of talent back. As well. I mean, you have,
you got some bats.
You definitely got some position player prospects here, some young guys and these guys are not far off either. They're knocking at the door. That's why, my thinking is this is not going to be some sort of long rebuild. 5, 6 years for the Twins here. You have guys that are, they decided at the deadline, we're going all in on this to be able to take advantage of the fact that they're one of the teams that. That had the amount of talent that they had on their major league roster that other teams wanted to be able to bring in kind of knocking at the door prospects, position player prospects. So that's where I think this can be a little bit quicker than people think, and because there's a lot to like still with that roster, and Lopez and Ryan are a pretty good 1-2 punch to start with too.
And 2 years ago, they won 87 games and won the division. So I had to be. I'm not sure.
That division, it's not like you have a juggernaut in that division. So it's always wide open.
Yeah, 100%. Get to 500 this year. After that, maybe compete a little more. We shall see. Congratulations to Derek Shelton, and we'll see what happens here this Twins. When we come back, more managers being hired. That's right. Walt Weiss is now the guy in Atlanta. We'll talk what he learned from Brian Snitker, and can the Braves bounce back quickly? That's next.
MLB Tonight is brought to you by Capital One, the official bank and credit card partner of Major League Baseball. What's in your wallet? Member FDIC.
We continue here in MLB tonight, and congrats to Walt Weiss. He played 14 seasons. I loved him back in the A's. AL Rookie of the Year. He was an All-Star with the Braves. 4 seasons as the Rockies manager, and he's been the Braves bench coach since 2018. Won the World Series in 2021. Learning under the altar, Brian Snitker. Now he gets his chance to be the manager.
My last 8 years, I think, I'm hoping it'll be a seamless transition here because of the relationships, not only with the players, but the front office, the support staff. There's respect and trust that flows up and down the chain of command. For that reason, we can hit the ground running. It takes the better part of a year to truly understand your team. I'm talking about, getting to know them on a deep level, what makes them tick, what situations they thrive in. Even down to their body language and those types of things that we read into. So that's a process that takes the better part of a year. And I think, the fact that I've been here and a lot of those things are already established, like I said, we can hit the ground running. I understand the impact of this Braves brand. Played here for 3 years, obviously coached for 8 years. I understand the wide-reaching fan base and how important it is to a lot of people and how many people have worked really hard to make this brand really one of the envies of the sports world. The standards are really high. The expectations are high. It's a good thing. It means you're doing something right. I want to say thank you to Snit. Without Snit, I wouldn't be here.
At the end of the day, this was about the best person. Internal, external, didn't matter. This is the 3rd time I've done this. 2 other times I've gone external. And I never had a thought process of it needs to be internal. It's the best person. You hear different things about, the roster and this and that. The rosters change. You can change the manager at the same time. I mean, you need the right individual no matter where they come from. And he stood out as the right man for the job.
Appreciate the perspective of Alex Anthopoulos as Walt Weiss now gets a second chance as a manager. This one's a tricky one. Adnan, Virk, Alex Avila, we continue MLB tonight. Because do you say to yourself, Atlanta, it was just a bad year because they were hurt. If Acuna's healthy, Strider's healthy, they're legit. Or do you go, no, there's some flaws in this team. They need to make some improvements.
No, I think a lot had to do with their health. They just had a hard time being able to cover the amount of times guys had to spend on the IL. It wasn't just, Acuna and Strider. I mean, Murphy ended up, having to get hip surgery as well. You had Riley went down as well. So this team, you had Sale out for a little while too. So, I mean, there was just a lot to try to overcome over the course of this year, and they just, sometimes it's too much for any team to overcome. So I would not be surprised with Walt Weiss coming in. If you get some bounce backs and some healthy seasons, some guys that you expect to play well and have high expectations for, this team, vying for a playoff spot next year as well, because, I mean, they could easily run it back with the guys that they have. They have some things to address. I think, you have to, kind of supplement a little bit, maybe add some depth to the rotation, find a little bullpen. Iglesias is a free agent this year, so do they sign him back or they go in a different direction? He had a terrific year for him. So I think a lot of this team, like if you get a little bit better health, you come out with some guys that have bounce back seasons like Harris in center field. I think you can easily see this team into the playoffs next year.
Yeah, I'm with you that health is a big part of it, but a couple of those guys like Ozzie Albies has to be better. Michael Harris has to be better. Austin Riley has to be better. Like those guys are really, really good, and they did not have strong seasons. It
kind of reminds me, so like back in when I was playing with Detroit. Coming off of 2009, we lost to the Twins, right, in game 163. 2010, high expectations, team expected to compete for a World Series. And, throughout the first half, we were playing well. Then we had a bunch of injuries. We just couldn't recover. And we ended up 500 at the end of that year. And then came back largely the same team next year, ended up winning the division. So, it reminds me a lot of that, and I get that kind of vibe, those kind of feelings with this Braves team.
Yeah, we still see it's amazing. Walt Weiss, played under La Russa, Bobby Cox, certainly good tutelage when it comes to all-time great managers. Make your voice heard. Vote now to select the 2025 All-MLB team presented by MGM Rewards. It's your chance to be a part of history and honor this season's top performers. Terms and conditions apply. See MLB.com/AllMLB for details. Still to come, more manager vacancies being filled. You get a car, you get a car, you get a manager job. Craig Albernaz will now be the guy for the Baltimore Orioles. We'll hear from him and what to do with the Orioles catching situation. That's next.
All veterans and active duty military eat free at Applebee's this Veterans Day on Tuesday, November 11th.
You're watching MLB Tonight. We continue with another managerial vacancy being filled. That's right, Craig Albernaz will now be the guy Listen, he signed with the Rays as an undrafted free agent back in 06. He played 9 MILB seasons. For his coaching career, it was with the Rays. Prior to that, with the Giants. He was the Guardians bench coach most recently, so very close and tight with Stephen Vogt. He recognizes the significance of this moment.
I'm just excited. This is a dream come true for me. When you start coaching, you don't think about being a big league manager, at least I didn't. But as you navigate your relationships, navigate certain teams, and you can kind of see that's something that you want to do and a goal you want to obtain. And to do it in such a historic franchise as the Baltimore Orioles, it really is a dream come true. Yeah, I'm forever grateful for Vody. I mean, being in Cleveland with that group, with Chris, Mike, and Matt, and obviously working alongside of Vody, they brought me into pretty much every meeting, every conversation they had. So I got to see the inner workings of all those conversations, what really goes into being a big league manager. It's not just being in a dugout with the coaching staff and the boys. It's a lot of your day is consumed by what happens before the game. So kind of get to see that, really opened up my eyes and being able to navigate those conversations. And then also, there's the leader that Vody is, the communicator with the coaching staff and the players, and how he goes about just being a great person, who he is. And that's something that I learned from him, and that's something I'm forever grateful. The talent up and down the roster is impressive. When you have a group of young players that get to the big leagues and have success, like in 23, and they have a rough 25, it's really tough to curate that adversity for young players to go through. So it's great to see that the work they put in this offseason to come out next year and really take on that challenge.
So the future of the Baltimore Orioles, for years we thought it would be twin faces when it came to this team. Adley Rutschman and Gunnar Henderson. Gunnar Henderson's still great, but Rutschman, this is concerning right now. To regress, certainly offensively, had a 90 OPS plus overall. Meantime, you got a dude in Samuel Basallo who looks like an absolute stud. What are you going to do at catcher for the O's?
Well, I mean, a lot of people, once Basallo kind of signed that extension, a lot of the talk was what do they do with Adley? Do they trade him? Stuff like that. But I think there's room, obviously, for both. When you look at Adley's, good years early on in his career, he was still DHing quite a bit, with McCann being his backup, getting those starts behind the plate. But obviously has been struggling a bit from the offensive standpoint, struggling with staying healthy, fighting through some injuries throughout each of those seasons as well. So there's still room. There's room for both. I think you have both of them catching. When one doesn't catch, the other can DH. Basallo can play a little first base. So there's definitely room to have both on the roster and be productive. So I don't think they need to go out and trade Adley, and I don't think that's their intention either. I mean, when you look at this position player group, it's another team that, with some bounce backs from guys like Adley, some good health, and if they could, shore up some of that pitching, this team is right back in the thick of it too in the AL East. After a down year this year, so. And I love the hire with Albernaz. It's kind of personal for me. I've known him for a while. His last year playing was with us in Detroit in spring training. And he is as likable as a guy. Players are going to love him, love playing for him. He's definitely a guy's guy, players kind of manager, but also able to hold you accountable. And, he's a good hire for the Orioles. They got a good one. So I'm excited for him, excited for that opportunity.
And you mentioned the pitching. I'm with you. Trevor Rogers had a lights-out season.
They need some pitching.
Get some other guys.
Elias can get him some pitching. Rogers was great.
Yes.
In the second half, he found something. Grayson's probably going to start the year on the IL. So they need to shore up that pitching staff to kind of supplement that offensive team.
Yeah, Bradish is back as well, so that's good news there. Watch MLB Legends and Stars tee off in the inaugural Capital One MLB Open at Shadow Creek November 18th at 9:30 p.m. Eastern on TNT. Go to MLB.com/golf for more details. Still to come here on MLB Tonight, Rookie of the Year conversations are always fun, especially in the National League. It's basically a toss-up with Drake Baldwin and Kate Horton. Alex explains why Baldwin was so great. That's next.